Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad you're back to listening with us at the Other Side of the Struggle, a podcast hosted by Erin Anderson, Betrayal Trauma Coaching. And I am Erin Anderson, your host. And if you're just joining us right now in the podcast, we've had a few different episodes, a little while, definitely some growth and a growing process. But the basis of this is I had betrayal trauma myself. Went through a lot of abuse and a lot of just a lot of really crappy things at the hands of my relationships, including the relationship with my husband, who struggled with a porn addiction. And I talk in previous podcasts about how I healed from my trauma before he even healed his addiction, and just a little bit about that story. So that should be in like my story. I have 2 of those, so go ahead and listen to them both. But today we are going to be talking about changing our thoughts. The last 2 weeks I talked about healing from, I've talked about the 5-step thought process. Stimulus, thoughts, feelings, actions, and then your results, those 5 steps. And today I wanted to talk about how we can actually change those things. And one of the things that I first want to say is we actually don't start, like, we're actually a ways into the process before we even realize we're in the process. We're not as aware of our thoughts, actually, because our subconscious does a lot of our driving. Our subconscious mind is not something that we have, like we have a lot more thoughts going on in the subconscious every single day than what we do in our conscious mind. And the reason why is because our conscious brain can only handle so much traffic. And even though it's handling a lot of traffic, your subconscious is doing a lot more, and it's allowing certain thoughts to come through, and it's keeping others way down. And it does that mainly for survival. And also for you to actually live a life without going crazy. Because truly, if we had that many thoughts in our mind constantly every single day, we would just be overwhelmed with lots and lots of thoughts. So we're actually a ways into the thought process into this 5-step process before we start to realize we're even there, and we're usually in the feelings part. Now, as an adult, like, I can honestly say, like, as I was going through my betrayal trauma, I was constantly feeling something. Like, I was in constant emotion. And so because I was in constant emotion, oftentimes I wasn't aware of my own emotions because they were always there. And something that's always there, you kind of tend to not notice as much. And especially when it's in, like, constant pain, your mind kind of tries to numb it down. It tries to make it so it's not as dangerous to you, if that makes sense, because pain equals danger to your brain. Whether it's emotional, spiritual, mental, physical, it doesn't matter. Any kind of pain like that becomes a threat to your mentality, to who you are, and that's the way that your brain is triggered to react to pain. And so with emotional pain, it's not like you can just go, like, pull the thorn out, right, and then put a little bit of lavender on it. I'm an essential oil guru. Like, I love the oil. So put a little bit of lavender on it and a Band-Aid and call it good, right? You can't do that necessarily. You actually have to work through it, and in order to finally, like, get that thorn out of your system. And so if you're not aware that you're having these feelings, and if you're not aware of where you're at in the process, what happens is you just become in this desperation cycle. And you just get desperate and really, really focused on trying to stop it. And the only thing you can see is the stimulus, which is the thing you cannot control. Right? But yet we sure try to, because we know we're hurting, we know it hurts, we don't know how to fix it, we're not as aware, we just know there's pain, but we cannot put a name to the pain. And what I mean by that is we can't sit down and say, oh, I am feeling angry, I'm feeling frustrated, I am feeling abandoned, I'm feeling left behind. We don't say those things necessarily to ourselves. Like, we might say them out loud, actually, but our conscious brain is not picking that up because we are in so much pain that the subconscious is trying to keep it under the surface so you can actually live. But you know that the pain is there, and you know what's causing the pain, which is the stimulus, and so you try to attack it at the stimulus by trying to control. And see, that's exactly what I was doing, is I was trying to control my husband by, like, taking away his phone, not allowing him on the computer, kicking him out of the house. And honestly, this is part of the reason why my boundaries never held solid, is because I was constantly trying to control him, and because I was constantly trying to control him and constantly trying to get rid of the pain, I wasn't sure if this would work better or this would work better. And so there was always so much uncertainty, and that uncertainty caused for very, very weak boundaries. And my husband could feel the weakness, he could see the weakness, and he would move through that weakness with ease. And there would be nothing that happened because of it. So it was a really frustrating situation. And if you follow me on Facebook at all, one of the things I say is it's time to step away from the situation and quiet your mind, okay? Because this is honestly what we have to do in order to start to heal the 5-step process, is we have to step back and quiet our minds. Remove all stimulus and just get into a place where we can be quiet for a while. And the reason being is because you want to start getting in tune with your emotions. Your emotions are there for a reason. And honestly, that's about the point where you're at before you realize, oh, I'm in this process. Because emotions are meant to be strong for a reason. They get our attention. And because they get our attention, they also bring things up to the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is where you can actually deal with things. The conscious mind is where you can actually start to create action. Okay? So, for example, let me kind of walk you through my 5-step process that I was going through when my husband was having his addiction. So, obviously, the stimulus was his porn addiction. He was looking at porn again, lying to me about it, and he wasn't being faithful. He was betraying me. Okay. And there was many stimuluses, let me just say that, but this was the one that really, really was hurting. So there's a stimulus, and my thoughts, which were not super pronounced, honestly, they weren't the things that I was really paying attention to, honestly, but my thoughts about that were, I hate him, I'm not worthy of him, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not good enough. If he loved me enough, then he would just stop this. A lot of not enoughs in there, guys. Like, just a lot of not enoughs. A lot of self-doubt. And so those were like some of the thought processes that were going on in my head. And it was all about me and this is why we have such a chasm here, is because you cannot actually control the actions and the thoughts of another person. It's not possible. But we try to stop the pain. But yet, because our subconscious knows that we can't actually control them, like our conscious is saying we can, but our subconscious is like, nope, can't do that. We also have to make ourselves responsible for something. And because we're trying to make ourselves responsible for something, because we're the only ones that can change the other 4 parts to this thought process, because we're trying to make ourselves responsible for our husband's actions, but we subconsciously know we can't, it creates this huge chasm between it's his fault, but it's my fault. And so there's where the confusion lies. And this is why we are on shaky ground, is because we cannot create boundaries when our conscious and our subconscious minds are fighting with each other like that. It's his fault, no, it's my fault. It's his fault, no, it's my fault. It's his fault, no, it's my fault. And it just, it gets you crazy. It absolutely makes you crazy. And you need to get to a point with your conscious brain saying it's his fault. Okay? Because you cannot control his thoughts and actions. That's on him. And so that way, because of that, you can't sit there and say, well, what if I controlled him? It's not possible. And that just makes you crazy, and especially when you are thinking it's all about you. Okay? It doesn't work. And that's why, this is why part of this thing causes the next thing, which is so much pain emotionally, and mentally, and physically, and spiritually. Like, it really just hits you in all 4 of those main energies. And I was hurt, I was angry, I was sad, I was depressed, I was just in this really negative cycle of emotion. I was feeling unworthy, right? I was feeling unloved, not lovable. Those are all feelings, guys, and they're all really, really negative. And so when you're feeling nothing but negative, that means you can only create a negative action, right? Like throwing the chair at my husband's head, right? That was a totally negative action. trying to control him, that's an action, right? All these negative actions that just kept me stuck in this cycle, which was my result. I was constantly being stuck in this betrayal trauma cycle and constantly going through the motions and just going deeper and deeper and just being slowly, as the scriptures say, drugged down to hell. And it wasn't like I was wanting to go there. No, my heart was with God. I loved God. So why on earth did I feel so far from him? It was awful. It was an absolutely awful cycle, and I didn't even realize I was in that downward spiral. I didn't even realize it. And luckily, like I said, God saw fit to start teaching me, and he just reached down in that cycle and he pulled me out. Like, I gotta do a little squirrel here for a second, guys, and pause and say that I can really relate to Peter drowning and Christ just reaching down and pulling him back up. Because that's exactly the way it felt. That's exactly the way it felt. I felt like I was drowning, and I was so deep, but there was just nothing. There's no depth that the Lord himself cannot pull us out of. He can reach down there and he can get us. And that's exactly what he did for me by making me aware of my emotions. And that was one of the first things, because emotions are fabulous teachers. They are so strong to get our attention. Remember, I just said that? They do. They get our attention, and they help us to say, oh, okay, I'm feeling abandoned. Why am I feeling abandoned? Well, because my husband isn't being loyal to me. He is looking at pornography. He's not showing up as the husband I need him to be. He just looked at pornography again last night when I really wanted to cuddle. He would rather look at pornography and push me away than cuddle. He pushes me away when I want to be intimate. He pushes the kids away because he's just an addict brain. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He's scared of relationships. It makes me feel abandoned because he's pushing us all away. Well, okay. We've just gone from the emotions to the stimulus, so we know why we're feeling this way. So what are our thoughts around that? Well, my thoughts are that maybe if I could just be a better wife, or maybe if I took his phone away, or maybe if I could control his actions, he would be happy, the kids would be happy, and I'd be happy. Okay. Now we have something to work on. Now if we can identify our thoughts and write those down, now we can start to say, okay, is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Because here's the thing. And I'll talk about this in a few episodes down the road, but we talk about truth and lies and how God is all truth and the adversary is all lies. So therefore, we want to align ourselves with truth and God. So we sit back and we think to ourselves, okay, am I really unlovable? To my husband, maybe. That might be true to my husband, but is there an even greater relationship out there for me? This is why I believe in God, guys. And you know what? If you can't believe in God, believe in a tree. Trees are pretty loyal. You can go hang out by a tree and sit there and talk to the tree about everything that you are experiencing, everything that's going on with you. If God is just not the place you're in right now, go talk to a tree. And I know that's not meant to sound derogatory or anything like that. It's literally because trees are a great listener. They're rooted in the earth. They're grounded. They are, but yet they also stretch to the sky. They have a great energy. And trees are great listeners. Really, really great listeners. And they can give you some really powerful insights. But for me, it's definitely God, because I feel like he's even more grounded and even stretches further than a tree, obviously. But, you know, just giving you some ideas here to work through your trauma. But for me, it was God. And I recognized that relationship was a deeper relationship, or should be a deeper relationship than the one I had with my than I had with my husband. And that was a great place for me, actually, to be mentally, because it took my focus off of my husband, who was in just a mucky mire and was pulling me through the mud and the dirt and the quicksand right along with him. And I honestly compared it to being drugged behind a runaway horse and we were headed straight for a cliff. That's what it felt like all the time. And it was not fun. It definitely was not a fun place to be mentally. So I started saying, okay, well, is it true that I am not lovable? Yes, to my husband, that's probably true. But to my God, who is perfect, who is a fantastic Father, who loves me beyond all reason and can see things that I can't see, that my husband can't see, that the greatest of the greatest on earth can't see, because he's God. If he loves me and I am that important to him, well then no, that's not true. And from that, it helped me realize, okay, I have a relationship here that I can actually count on. I have a relationship here that I can lean into, and that will strengthen me against this freaking hurricane that I'm being blown around in. So how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. You know, they've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary, so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries, so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice, and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves, so that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master This particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. I am loved. I am loved by the God of heaven, earth, and the universe. And all of a sudden, my emotions around that started to change. I started feeling a little bit of more peace. Now, back to the tree. I can almost kind of hear some of you that are following this podcast that are like, not really sure about the God thing. Trees are there to support, to be strong, and to love. You can still feel those things. The tree loves me. That flower there loves me. The earth is here to support me. The earth loves me. And the earth is bigger than my husband. You could even say Jupiter loves you because it gives you beauty at night, right? And Jupiter is huge, it's big, and it sends love to you. Okay, find the thing that you can see that will love you back and support you, that you can lean against. Okay? From there, I started unraveling more and more and more of my thoughts about myself, that I wasn't beautiful, that maybe I was becoming too fat. That's a big one. Let me actually unravel that one for you. I realized, since I believe in God, I obviously believe in the adversary, right? And I realized that the adversary does not have a body of flesh and bone like I do. And because he doesn't have a body, that means that he can influence, but he can't actually go out and do, like, I can flip on a light switch. The adversary can't. But because I was trusted with a body, I can go out and create incredible things. The adversary can only influence. And so I had to sit back and think to myself, okay, if I can create, and the adversary can't, well then that would make sense that he would want what I have. No wonder why he's trying to attack my body and tell me I'm not gorgeous, that I'm not beautiful enough, that I don't look like these porn models. Like, they're just, no wonder. That have been brushed up, by the way. Most of them have been airbrushed, and we can get into all of that, but no wonder. He would love to have the body I'm in. So it would make sense for me to love the body I'm in right now. My body has given me 6 beautiful children. It gets me up every single morning to get on here, and I also teach kids for a living. I'm an online teacher as well, and I love doing that. I love connecting with these kids. I love cuddling my kids. My body gives me the opportunity to wrap my arms around my 6 children and love them. My body gives me the opportunity to sit in this chair and coach women through betrayal trauma. My body gives me the opportunity to go to the grocery store, to lift somebody up, to make somebody's Christmas, to make somebody's day, to do these things. My body gives me those abilities, and because I have the ability to do good, my body is beautiful. And instead of feeling ashamed by my body, because it's not perfect, I now feel a lot of love, appreciation, and just patience for my body, because I'm so grateful for it. And this is how we start to change. We really start to examine those thoughts and see, okay, is this really true? and examine it. Examine it. You can also open up some scriptures and examine these against what the scriptures tell you. Okay? Do an in-depth study about the body. Do an in-depth study about trauma. Like, gosh, Jesus is a great, great example of someone who's gone through trauma. And as you start to change the way you think about the situations, and you start to kind of claim back some of that power because of the way you're thinking, your feelings start to change. And now, all of a sudden, you're kind of leaving your husband to deal with his crap, which is really honestly where it needs to be. I mean, this is between Heavenly Father and your husband. Heavenly Father might direct you to stay. He might direct you to go, to leave the marriage. But either way, doing these things are going to just make you that much stronger as a woman, and as a creator, and as the goddess you are. But you cannot see those things if you don't examine the thoughts, which change the feelings, which changes the actions. Okay? I mean, seriously. Like, if you were able to go and just buy a bunch of toys at Christmas this season and start giving them out to little children as they walked out of the store of Walmart, how would that make you feel if you were able to do that? Or maybe you just might go get some cookie mixes or cake mixes or something with a note to just a random stranger about how amazing they are, and handing that out for Christmas this year. Yeah, heck, you don't even have to wait to Christmas to do good. And all of a sudden, your results are, holy cow, I am amazing. I am freaking fabulous. I'm freaking gorgeous. What an idiot. Why in the heck is he over here looking at a screen and thinking he's going to get his kicks and his jollies and his giggles from that screen when he's got a freaking goddess in his house? This man misunderstands what it is to be a goddess. But you know what happened is, once I started to understand myself as a goddess, and I started to talk to myself as the goddess, and I started to show up as the goddess that way, holy cow, like, it was just like this light inside me just burst out of my heart and out of my chest, and now I am crazy amazing. And I could see my husband's actions for the foolish actions they were. But they no longer held on to me because I had that love and that faith and that confidence for myself. I was loyal, crazy loyal to myself. Because I would not allow lies to dictate who I was anymore. Okay, well, we are just about ready to wrap up with our podcast today. So I wanted to thank you guys again for listening in. Next week, we are going to be talking about the relational tiers. Actually, all next month, I'm talking about the relational tiers. And we're going to be starting first and foremost with the God tier and strengthening your relationship with God and what it means to strengthen your relationship with God, how to strengthen your relationship with God. Like, we're just getting into all that meat and potatoes, because if you can start living your life by how to like these relational tiers and knowing where you're at in those tiers, you are seriously going to create an amazing life for yourself. All right, thanks for checking in with me today, my loves, and I can't wait to see you soon. Bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna be